responsible for creating the set and including unapproved items for our Spring 23 photo shoot. We strongly condemn abuse of children in any form. We stand for children's safety and well-being. But this still didn't sit right with a lot of people. With people saying, oh, so Balenciaga just gets to apologize and turn off their Instagram comments and we're supposed to act like nothing happened. Others saying this isn't something they can just apologize for. It's a crime. Balenciaga should have their stores closed. You also have Kim Kardashian mixed up in all of this, where she's been a longtime fan of Balenciaga and a recent brand ambassador. So with this happening, she released a statement on Twitter and Instagram yesterday about the incident, saying, I've been quiet for the past few days, not because I haven't been disgusted and outraged by the recent Balenciaga campaigns, but because I wanted an opportunity to speak to their team to understand for myself how this could have happened. As a mother of 4, I have been shaken by the disturbing images. The safety of children must be held with the highest regard, and any attempts to normalize child abuse of any kind should have no place in our society. Period. I appreciate Balenciaga's removal of the campaigns and apology. In speaking with them, I believe they understand the seriousness of the issue and will take the necessary measures for this to never happen again. As for my future with Balenciaga, I am currently reevaluating my relationship with the brand, basing it off of their willingness to accept accountability for something that should have never happened to begin with, and the actions I am expecting to see them take to protect children. So right now, we need to see how other things fall. Right? Balenciaga is reportedly suing the producers of the campaign. They've also completely purged their Instagram. And as far as what steps Balenciaga is going to take from here, that remains to be seen. And so while we wait to see, I'd love to pick your brain on this. Let me know what you're thinking with this story in those comments down below. And then, in huge business and sales news, it was just Black Friday, and apparently very few people noticed. Though, I do want to personally note, this isn't going to be the case for every company. For example, over on beautifulbastard.com, where, by the way, you have about 48 to 72 hours to grab what you want while you can, including emotionally exhausted flower power gear. That's on low stock and might be sold out soon. Awesome sports gear. Certain sizes almost sold out. Same with the one day it will all be skeletons, comfy goodness. And the door almost closed on a brand new special. Notebooks, water bottles, and oh, the best candle you will ever buy. And I mention all that because always be plugging, but also because y'all did actually break another record on our sales. Even though we're seeing this news today where there are companies out there that are very stressed out, right? Because Black Friday has historically been the unofficial start of the holiday shopping season, and it serves as a key metric for how the season's gonna go. In fact, this season is such a big deal because it normally makes up nearly 20% of the retail industry's annual sales. And for many, it kicked off with a meh. With the normally massive crowds nowhere to be found, with many stores that were interviewed describing it as nothing more than a slightly busy day. And there were a number of reasons. E-commerce, of course, a major aspect of it. But also, it appears one of the main reasons being that you have inflation-weary shoppers, with one getting straight to the problem saying everything's going up but your paycheck, right? And this was a nationwide trend, and shoppers who did go out were holding out for the best deals. And that is despite the fact that online discount rates were about 31% on Thanksgiving itself, which is 7% more than last year. And brick-and-mortar stores also had steep discounts on Black Friday itself. And analysts suspect right now that most companies are either just going to break even or only see modest profits for the year, unless, Cyber Monday just completely smashes projections. And so the question I'll ask you with this story is, what has your holiday shopping been like so far? You still did it, you didn't do it, you did, but you bought less or more, any and all things. I'd love to hear from you. Though I will say, the good thing about Black Friday not being crazy is that I don't have to talk about people being trampled every single year on the same day. People used to get crazy. And then China has erupted with the biggest protest since Tiananmen Square, with thousands of people crowding the streets and university campuses in several major cities throughout the weekend, calling for freedom and human rights, an end to the zero COVID policy, and even the toppling of Xi Jinping, with a lot of this being sparked by a fire at an apartment building in Xinjiang Friday that killed 10 people, including children, which was already bad enough, but people got extraordinarily pissed when videos led them to believe first responders were blocked from reaching the scene by lockdown barriers and cars left stranded by those in quarantine. Right, so this became the driving force for broader anti-lockdown protests in the vein of what we saw earlier this year in Shanghai, where you had extremely strict measures keeping people locked indoors, sometimes without food. And so we saw the candlelight vigil that was held for the victims of the fire quickly morphing into a political protest. You had people crying and shouting for freedom, crowds in other cities even chanting, "Give me liberty" or "Give me death." And understand, again, this wasn't just in reference to zero COVID. Many explicitly demanded democracy and the end of authoritarian rule. Pointing to the CCP's 20th Party Congress last month, where President Xi officially secured an unprecedented third term in office. Also, they are picking the 6 men who will stand alongside him on the Politburo Standing Committee, China's top ruling body, all of whom are staunch Xi loyalists, with that leaving no clear successors or rivals to Xi and consolidating power to an extent not seen in decades. And so when the protests broke out, the government responded the way they usually do, with force. You saw demonstrators clashing with police, some even charging barriers, as well as footage showing individuals getting picked off and carried away into custody, with one key high-profile incident happening at a protest in Shanghai where you had police arresting BBC reporter Ed Lawrence, then dragging him away with him heard yelling.
Hey, Barry, call the consulate now.
With the government later claiming that he never identified his press credentials and adding that the cops were trying to protect him from catching COVID in the crowd, which is extremely weird considering the outlet said that he was beaten and kicked and then held in handcuffs for several hours. You also had a Swiss journalist getting briefly arrested elsewhere in the city, also people from multiple outlets getting physically harassed by police. We also saw workers revolt at the world's largest iPhone factory, which is owned by Foxconn, because of unsafe COVID precautions and broken promises for bonuses, with videos showing people fighting police that would eventually ended and many quit their jobs. We've also seen the government cracking down online with posts and videos of the protests getting scrubbed. But there you have demonstrators still finding creative ways to avoid censors, like simply holding up blank sheets of paper in symbolic defiance. Another person saying, "Are we saying anything?" No, all the complaints and mourning are in our hearts. And another adding, "I hope in the future I will no longer be holding a white piece of paper for what I really want to express." But understand, all of this is still ongoing as I'm recording this. You have people in the streets. But for now, that's where we are. We'll have to wait to see what happens with this flame. Does it turn into a blaze like hopefully we're also seeing in Iran, or will it be snuffed out? Only time will tell, but of course, like with everything, I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. And then, with it being Cyber Monday and the holidays rapidly approaching, it means that we're all looking for great gift ideas. And that's where the fantastic sponsor and longtime partner of today's show, Ridge, comes in. You know, I've owned a Ridge wallet before they even became a sponsor. I love that Ridge is a minimalist front pocket wallet that's slim, RFID blocking, and comes with a lifetime guarantee. Or we all know that men's wallets get bulky. You stash everything in there, from receipts to old gift cards and cash. And that old school leather bullshit, it's just not practical for modern people. With the Ridge, it helps you carry less, but always what you need. Their sleek design is what I love most. There are over 30 colors and styles with 2 metal plates bound together by a durable elastic band. And their key case, also sleek and durable, holding up to 6 keys, taking the jingle out of the keyring experience. And the main thing, Ridge products are a game changer. So this holiday season, go check out their wallets and key cases at ridge.com/DeFranco to get their best offer of up to 40% off until December 22nd. And then early voting is officially underway in the Georgia Senate runoff. As of today, voting is now available to every registered voter in the state, but thousands and thousands have already actually cast their ballots. 27 counties making up more than half of the state's population held Saturday voting this weekend after a ton of drama. As we talked about on the show before, the Georgia Secretary of State said Saturday early voting, which is essential for people who can't take the time during the week to actually vote, couldn't take place because the election code barred voting in the days after a holiday. And so Senator Raphael Warnock and other Democrats sued the state, and a judge actually ruled in their favor, with Republicans losing their appeals. And it's a very good thing they did, because turnout proved to be incredibly significant on Saturday, with the Secretary of State's office reporting over 70,000 people voted that day amid reports of long lines and wait times. Beyond that, nearly 87,000 voters also cast ballots on Sunday, with Gabriel Sterling, the chief operating officer of the Georgia Secretary of State's office, saying that the turnout set a new record, tweeting it was 130% higher than the previous Sunday record of 37,785 set on October 25th, 2020. Plus, according to official data, after this weekend, more than 181,700 people have either voted early or by mail. And with mandatory early voting now open statewide from today until Friday, Sterling says that this high turnout is expected to continue. Writing in a tweet after voting kicked off today, turnout so far is blowing doors. As of 10:30 a.m., we have already seen 63,454 Georgians cast their early votes in person. This is outpacing the turnout from the last day of early voting in the general election. So what we're seeing here could have a massive impact, but as far as whether this high early voting is going to benefit one candidate over the other, surprisingly, experts actually say it's hard to tell right now. Or well, some have noted that while Republicans historically show up for early voting more than Democrats, Warnock actually got more votes than Herschel Walker during early voting in the general. And GOP-led efforts to limit Saturday voting could hurt Walker here. But at the same time, the two have been polling neck and neck. So we really don't know what's going to happen until the votes are counted on December 6th. So if you live in Georgia and you haven't already, come up with a voting plan, go out and vote. Because remember, every vote counts, and you get to decide if the senator from Georgia is Raphael Warnock or a constantly lying, hypocrite, deadbeat father whose ex-wife said he pointed a pistol at her face. And then it's easy to take for granted things like having clean running water in your home. But I'll tell you, people in Houston right now, not taking it for granted. And that's because the entire city of Houston, we're talking 2.2 million residents of Texas, are under a water boil advisory, with that warning being issued yesterday after a power outage at a water purification plant caused pressure to drop. And so if you are in Houston, they're telling you to boil water for at least 2 minutes before using it for food preparation, drinking, bathing, or brushing your teeth, as well as please avoid using water from refrigerators or ice makers. We also saw Governor Greg Abbott announce that the state is directing emergency resources to Houston until the issue is resolved. We also had the mayor's office last night saying it believed that the water is safe, but that it was required to issue the boil notice due to regulations, and even going on to say the water samples will be collected and the city has to wait 24 hours after it's been told the water is safe before it can lift the advisory, and adding earliest would be Monday night or very early Tuesday morning. So it appears the good news here, this is probably going to be short-lived. The bad news, though, is no matter how short-lived, it still causes a massive disruption for millions of people. And that goes beyond needing to boil potable water. This issue also resulted in the Houston Independent School District, which is the largest public school system in Texas, serving nearly 200,000 kids, as well as other smaller districts, to close all their schools today. And it also underscored broader questions about the stability of Texas's essential infrastructure that have remained since the devastating winter storm last year that put much of the state in crisis with power outages and no running water. And while this is, yes, the biggest water crisis Houston has faced since the storm, surrounding areas have also recently been placed on water boil advisories, as have other major Texas cities throughout the last year, including Austin, where errors at a treatment plant caused a city of 1 million to be placed on a water boil notice. So as a result, you have some questioning Texas's water systems as well as local officials' communication surrounding these issues. Many there taking to social media to criticize city authorities for taking hours to notify the public. But there you had Houston Public Works responding on Twitter by saying there are proper procedures and protocols in place before a boil water notice can be issued. But others also complained that they literally got no notice from the government and only ended up finding out because of social media. But also, a key thing that I want to touch on here, Texas